everybody, one of Wiisdom here. We are back, the Switch unboxing, Switch my story, Switch analysis, impressions, initial assessment, whatever you want to call that first video. That thing is rendered out, it is now uploading. So the question becomes, what do we tackle next? I'm going right here, the Nintendo Switch Pro Controller. This is important for a couple of reasons. Number one, anything past sort of like a party gimmicky type game, dedicated long-term gaming, if you will, Breath of the Wild, essentially, you're probably going to want a controller you're more accustomed to, and this is what you've got out of the box with the Switch. It's super lightweight, but it lacks that bulk that I spoke of. It's a little bit smaller. If it was just slightly wider and had slightly more meat on the backside, I feel like it would fit my hands better. And you could get used to this, I think, if, it's a young child, you're getting this for your children, niece, nephew, whatever it may be. This would probably fit very well. It might even be something they grow into over time. Someone like myself, like my natural thumb position would be about here. And so I'm having to come in. Needless to say, what I would assume would be the correct thing to do, and what I have actually asked people that have been playing Breath of the Wild, I'm like, hey, are you actually freehanding these Joy-Cons, or are you using that thing it came with? And the answer has been Pro Controller. And if you stop and think about it, like, hey, I'm going to be playing this game for probably a couple hours at a time, what would be best? And the unanimous answer from people who have experienced it, and just opinions based on your own personal track record from previous instances, would dictate the Switch Pro Controller. Currently, this thing is insanely hard to find. It's pretty much sold out everywhere, just like the Switch. Initially, when the Switch had sold out, these were somewhat readily available, and then I guess people went in and picked them up to scalp them. I got this yesterday, well, 2 days ago now, when I picked up the Easter Skylanders at Toys R Us. They didn't have any out on the floor. I was there, it wasn't crowded. I said, hey, you wouldn't happen to have any Pro Controllers, because I'd seen them there a week ago, right? And I thought maybe they pulled them in the back. They are locked on the tab. Your Toys R Us is probably the same way. And they said, well, it shows we have one on the floor and one in the back. So the manager lady went back there. She's like, well, I've got 8 of them. And so, hey, I've got one now. $69.99. Does that seem a bit out of line? Yes. That said, we'll hold off judgment until we've actually used this thing and seen what it can do. But there's some selling points on this I was unaware of until I had it, and I was actually looking at the packaging. So it's a shame Nintendo hasn't kind of pushed these items a little bit more. Needless to say, though, this is the packaging. Again, $69.99. Don't pay any more than that. There's a good chance the price could come down a little bit. Personally, I think it should be in line with the Xbone controller and the PS4 controller. It does have a couple of things they don't offer, particularly at this price point. Now, the Xbox One, you can customize the snot out of your controller. They've got tons of super cool special editions. You can pick up a lot of those things $49 before they disappear, so we're kind of going off of that baseline. However, let's go ahead and assess this a little bit. So you've got your classic analog stick positions, your D-pad. You've got, I guess, home. Not sure what that would be. You've got your start, select, whatever you want to call it, plus, minus, pause. You've got the X, Y, A, B. I so wish that would be unified, because it's always a pain for me. I've been playing a bunch of like Skylanders, on the Xbox, and then I switch over to the Nintendo and I'm doing the wrong buttons. And then when I play a bunch of Nintendo games, I switch over to Skylanders on the Xbone and I'm hitting the wrong buttons. And it's extremely annoying. And if we could just switch the buttons, it would be so fantastic. Side profile shot here. They're pretty proud of this thing. We'll see if it lives up to the hype. There's your top slot. Coming over here, not much on the bottom. Trademarks are property of their respective owners. Fantastic newsflash right there. The Pro Controller is a classic grip-style wireless controller that provides an easy-to-hold extended gameplay experience. They're even referencing it here as a selling point. So if you thought, yeah, that's probably why you'd get this, that's it. With the Nintendo Switch system, when playing either in TV mode or tabletop mode, so this isn't something that has to, or is exclusive to when it's broadcast to your TV and the Switch is docked. If you want to load up, take just the Switch with you, you're out on the road in a bus, a train, an airplane, your parents' car, whatever it may be, you can bust out the Pro Controller. So that is a very nice perk there. Look on the back of the Switch game packaging to see which games use the Nintendo Switch Pro Controller. Let's check that out now because, hey, it's a new console, new thing. Dun 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 dun. Right there. Nintendo Switch Pro Controller compatible. Very good to know. So, you'll want to double check and verify that, I suppose. Well, let's go ahead now. This is the big deal, and this is something I was unaware of. I just assumed, naturally, and I'm sure many of you do too, unless you've thoroughly researched this, I'm figuring 2 AA. In fact, I was kicking myself because when I was in Target and running my errands the other night, I needed batteries anyway. I didn't buy them. And I thought of it when I got home with this, and I was like, oh, I didn't get the batteries, man. I'm an idiot. Got a few, but, figure we'll be burning through them. Check this out, though. Let me get it to where you can read it yourself. Includes a rechargeable lithium-ion battery that can last about 40 hours on a single charge. Before the first use, charge the Pro Controller with the Nintendo Switch AC adapter or the included USB charging cable. So we're not getting an AC adapter. Again, that's $29.99, and you probably want a second one. You could also make it function for this purpose. But we do get the cable, the USB cable. 40-hour battery life, lithium ion. This is an upgrade. Okay, I can't remember what my Xbox One, what I did with the Xbone. I have the controller it came with, right? And then we came in and I needed a second controller, so my nephew, when he was over here, we could do our Xbox One dual survival together. What I did in that case is I did is it called plug and charge, plug and play, something along those lines, and it basically is this type of a setup, and it amplifies the price. I think a lot of people, including those complaining about the $69 price point, are not factoring this in. This is a significant upgrade. It's not like, hey, enjoy your 2 AA batteries. This is a lithium ion pack. I'm assuming can handle AA's. It doesn't actually say, so we're going to investigate that as well. But depending on the battery, if it can go 40 hours on a single charge, I would assume it's fairly good quality. And that would make me think not only are we talking initial life cycles as you're playing through Breath of the Wild, we're talking about longevity down the road, 6 months, 8 months, 2 years, type of a thing. It's something that we do not want to replace if it is at all avoidable. So packed very well, that's always a good sign. Alright, so there's the empty box. We've done our job. Let's end the video. Alright, so here we are. We do have, I was correct last time. It is a USB Type-C. So this is actually great. This is universal. This actually looks to be fairly long too. And that is great. This means we can plug this in pretty much anywhere. Your computer, ports on your Wii U, ports on your Switch, ports on your Xbox One, probably your cell phone charger if it's Android. Anything that you can plug this in and get a decent trickle out of the wall. And then we've got a Type-C USB, which is fantastic. It's not proprietary. It's easy to find. If you were to lose this cable, or you want like a 50-foot one for whatever reason, or you need a 16-foot to get from the TV, or you've got your Switch docked to your comfortable gaming chair, you can easily get these, and they're economical. They're affordable. They're not some proprietary crud like Apple would force upon you. So this actually looks to be fairly long. Did they say 10 foot? Let's see. I don't believe they specify, but I do think it's 10 feet. So that is fantastic. Now, the money shot is right here, right? Oh no, it's packed. Let's go ahead and take care of that. It feels pretty good through the bag. I'll say that. Are you ready for this? The moment of glory. Oh yeah, looks pretty good. Trying to hold off. I want to just to immediately assess it, but let's go over the visuals here. So, plus minus. What in the world is that? I don't know what that button is going to be. I don't know if it's like some photo shot or share button. I wish, of all the times, not have paperwork on something. That's home. A, B, X, Y. Right? Oh, it feels pretty good. Not gonna lie. Pretty sad. This is so much more natural than this. You know, maybe some of you like the red and the blue, sort of like the non-conventional shape or form. And the people with small hands might genuinely actually be better suited for this. The big thing is the analog sticks are so freaking small. I mean, just compare and contrast that. So if you're a traditional gamer, if you're coming over to the Switch from an Xbone or a PS4, really any Microsoft or Sony console, this is your ticket. Shoulder buttons, you can see here, the port is at the top. That's mixed and matched, we can see. Coming around, oh, I don't know. Let's go ahead and take this off. I guess that is our sync button. Where would one access the battery? Well, I guess this is an integral. I was picturing something like the Xbox One controller, where it's just the battery pack, right? I guess it is integral to the controller. We could dismantle this bad boy if we wanted to, but for now, I guess we'll just run with the factory battery. So, yeah, in terms of does this thing accept 2 AA, I'm thinking no. It very well could. That probably ought to be something they should have seriously considered. I love the fact it's lithium ion and it's rechargeable right out of the box, but having that dual versatility, meaning whenever this lithium ion battery starts lasting for 40 minutes or 2 hours or something on down the road in a couple of years, instead of having to shell out $70 for another controller, you toss that thing in the trash can or properly dispose of it. You prefer, throw in your AA's and you're back on the road, right? So essentially that's what I'll do with the Xbone. Whenever that one kind of wears its life cycle out and it gets to the point where it's like, man, I'd be better off just throwing AA's in this, that's what I'll do. For what it's worth, battery life on the Xbox One controllers has been fantastic for me personally. That's it. Here it is, the D-pad. It's got a nice texture to it. These are sort of elevated. They don't have, they're sort of like, I don't know, I don't want to say abrasive, it's not going to cut your thumb, but it's sort of a harsh rise. I think it's something you get used to, and obviously if you keep your thumb off of the surface of the controller and just ready to go on the buttons, it'll be a non-issue. Plus minus aren't too bad. The hidden features here that, they talk about the 40-hour lithium-ion battery, but the hidden features, you've got an NFC pad, which I assume it's somewhere in this region. I don't know because I haven't used it personally yet. It could be even related to that button. I don't know. What is it on that controller? It's a menu on the Xbox. I don't know. I'll show you something here in a second. But so if we were playing Breath of the Wild and we wanted to tap down Link the Archer, you can do it straight from the controller. We don't have to go up to the Switch. We don't have to have some puck like you do with the old 3DSs. It can be done from this controller. There's also the HD Rumble, which personally I've yet to experience too much outside of the Joy-Con, so we'll kind of see how that goes. Rumble, check. NFC, check. Lithium-ion 40-hour battery, check. Realistically, it's the NFC aspect coupled with the fact that we've got a lithium-ion battery in here that I think is what they're using to justify the price point. I could be wrong, but the analog sticks feel pretty... Oh, they feel really good, actually. There's supposed to be a message hidden that says, thanks to all gamers or something. I think that would be a little cumbersome for us to track down. L and ZL, R and ZR are right there. Again, we've got our sync button and the USB Type-C port there. I may look into this. Maybe there's a way you can pop the cover off and deal with the battery, but what I want to do now is go into some size comparisons. This feels great. More importantly, it feels so much better than this. If you buy a Switch new out of the box, you've got your Joy-Cons. It comes with this little comfort grip, I think they call it. This is really the comfort grip, not this. Small hands, yes. If you're, like, man, I don't have $70 for a controller, go ahead and give this thing a whirl. You can also play with the Joy-Cons detached. I was kind of curious to do that, but I don't know if I want to waste the time to try and get accustomed to, instead of having one hand together, working in unison, it's like each hand has free reign. Some people might prefer that play style. It's a cool option. I'll kind of hold off. What we want to do here, though, let's start with the more obvious comparison. Left hand, we've got the Wii U. Right hand, we've got the Xbone. Standard controller, right? Very, very, very similar profiles. The Xbox One just a little bit more beefy, which again for me and my larger hands is actually a good thing. I have zero complaints with this Switch Pro Controller though. Obviously the shoulder buttons are a little bit different of a design. There you can see the port to charge on the Xbox One. You've got the sync button there. Of course, maybe this is power? I don't know. I'm not exactly sure. I guess maybe that's what it must be. Because here on the Xbox, the buttons feel a little bit better in my opinion. They're sort of more like rounded. That's less harsh of a transition, if you will. This is sort of like you come up against the square edge, and this is like nice and smooth radius, if you will. So I'll give that advantage to the Xbone. I do have some old PS2 controllers over there. I don't know if it's really worth getting out for comparison's sake at this point in time. This is how you turn on the Xbone controller. There's our home button and the menu. I'll have to figure that out. I'm guessing all I can come up with is power at this point in time. So let's go ahead and throw that back there. Put the Xbone there. This is an interesting comparison just because I can and it was in the same container. Anyone remember these? The Boss controller, the big oversized super shell. When my nephew and I play Mario Galaxy a lot, a bunch of the platformers on the Wii, we picked this up for him. It was actually pretty dadgum cool and it worked very, very well. It's sort of more of the dog bone of the SNES, if you will. Super comfortable. I just sort of wanted like a lineage, a heritage, if you will. Something else. I'm so glad I saw this port here. That's, of course, in relation to the motion controls. I have no idea how this works with the Pro controller, but it also apparently supports motion controls. I can't explain it. I've not experienced it to have any first-hand information. But that is another thing that's one of these sort of like integral components, if you will, that can sort of build up to help justify the $69 price point. Still, I would have liked to have seen it cheaper, but hey, I'm just saying if you're trying to spin this to your parents, if you're trying to talk yourself into it, small justifications, right? Now, a more direct and important comparison is actually going to be right here. This bad boy, I'm trying to remember what game I bought this for. I never used it a whole lot, if at all. This is the Wii U Pro, or I guess it's the Wii Pro Controller. I don't know, Wii or Wii U Pro Controller. I think it would function on either one. The way this one works, it plugs into your nunchuck port. I may have a Wii U Pro Controller. I don't know. I've got so much Nintendo accessories around here. This is super lightweight. It's got a decent feel, but it's something that you would get tired of. The buttons sort of have a little bit of like a cap on them, but it's sort of a similar to the harsh edge. The thing on here though, you've got start, select, and home. And since this one is it's literally, it plugs into the Wiimote. That's all we do. There's no battery pack, no lithium battery pack, nothing. I'm wondering if that square button isn't power. I don't know. We're going to have to research that. But here these two are. This is more of like a true Nintendo lineage. As you can see, this one, much more subtle on the contour. And it is much, much beefier. You can feel the difference just in your hand quite noticeably. Especially even on the back side. This seems to be a higher grade plastic. This just seems super, super lightweight. Whereas this one's kind of got similar heft to your Xbox One, PS4 controller. So something I will say, and you probably noticed it, it's sort of got a techie vibe. Obviously, we haven't really addressed that much, but right here, this sort of like, it's almost like a perforated leather or carbon fiber aesthetic. That actually feels pretty good, and it's got a lot of like no slip in it. You know, I'm just barely touching that, and it's got good grip. It's not tacky, it's not sticky, there's no adhesive. It's just somehow, it's like if we were to plasti dip, a pair of pliers that were bare metal. They might slip out of your hand when you're trying to latch onto something. You put the plasti dip, oh hey, we've got texture, we've got grip now. So that's a cool feature. It's a little bit lighter than the Xbox One controller. It's way more comfortable, in my personal opinion, than the Joy-Con Comfort Grip, as I believe they've termed it. But I've got to say, from those people I've talked to, Tim, he's been no-lifing The Legend of Zelda to the best of his abilities there with Breath of the Wild. He says this is the only way to go. He couldn't imagine doing it the other way. I've seen some people saying they were trying to get by with the Joy-Cons and they finally just had to go out and get the Pro Controller, and they're glad they did. So there's really no remorse once you have it. It is kind of a hit initially. Again, it's a shame it wasn't kind of like included. But hey, they're doing, the Joy-Cons, and that's sort of the gimmick this time around. This is a nice option. The reason these controllers existed was third-party developers said, hey, we're not going to do the Wiimote nunchuck. Give us a standard controller. They've got that here. They've done, in my opinion, this is the best dedicated traditionalist controller I've had in my hand that's been Nintendo. Probably since the good old dog bone of the SNES. That was a fantastic controller. NES was kind of uncomfortable. I mean, that thing was a legit rectangle with sharp edges. Alright. The dog bone of the SNES it felt good. We didn't have, the crazy analog stuff at the time. That was a very nice controller. Past that, they kind of did some really innovative, wacky stuff. We sort of transcended to this. And again, in my opinion, the Xbox One controller is a fantastic piece, but I think this one's just as good. A little bit lighter. Some of you might view that as a pro. Some of you might have it as a con. Personally, the longevity of dedicated Nintendo, not spin-off or second-hand or, aftermarket controllers, first-party Nintendo controllers, I've had extremely good luck with. I've had a nunchuck that I've thought I've broken and killed all the way back in Jet Rocket, and somehow that thing will always reset. Like currently, this controller, when I play Skylanders, the characters always move on their own because I've worn out the joystick. The PS2, I went through so many controllers. I primarily did Madden, NBA Live. EA that was actually a really good game. NBA Live 95, and then tons and tons and tons of racing games is probably where I really assaulted the analog sticks on the PS2. But I went through so many controllers. This is the original Xbone controller. It's held up well. The only issue I have is with that left analog stick. We'll see how this one fares, but I've got a good feeling about it. So that said, I wish I could tell you more about the battery, but they didn't really provide much information. This almost looks like a protective shell, if we could perhaps snap it off. But at the same time, I don't want to wreck a $70 controller. And what I do want to do is take this universal USB-C port. I want to get this thing charged up all the way so we can start using the Switch, having a good time. Again, tentative plans, blind streaming Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild on Twitch, and then we will export that over to YouTube. So if you're not already following me on Twitter or Twitch, make sure you do that if you're interested in catching the streams. That's it. I think we've covered everything. The only other real comparison I could offer, our gamepad here, which again, I think this thing, it takes so much flack, the Wii U. I just view it as something that people didn't take the time to fully capitalize on. But when it was utilized, it was done very, very well, and it added a lot to the play experience, in my opinion. And of course, we'll go with our all-black Wiimote, with, of course, Motion Plus. That's it. I think we've spent about as much time as we can on this one. Let me know, if you've got a Switch, did you get the Pro Controller? How would you rate it, and what are you comparing it to? Are you comparing it to a GameCube controller? Are you comparing it to the Comfort Grip for the Joy-Cons? Or are you comparing it perhaps to your Xbone or PS4 controller? Which one do you like best and why? Do you prefer this because it's lighter? Do you like the Xbox One better because of the size, the extra girth? Do you prefer the Wii and the Wii U Pro Controller better for the lightweight or the size or whatever it may be? Let me know your thoughts down below. Feel free to go all the way back, whatever your experiences are. And more importantly, though, sort of direct comparison to this Switch Pro Controller, how would you rate it against your favorites? Preferably, this is people that have it or have held it, or have utilized it for a long time. And then, of course, we can get into the aesthetics. Which one do you prefer and why? It's always kind of fun to do that. My hope on this lithium-ion battery, if it is in fact a sealed unit and once it's dead, it's dead. Obviously, you could always leave it plugged in. You've got that option. But I think if they follow the suit of Microsoft, they've kind of done some of that stuff in recent years, they could make some really, really, really cool spin-off controllers. Character-based controllers, if you will. They could just do colors, color schemes, designs. This lends itself very well to a lot of custom options, to a lot of unique creations from Nintendo themselves. And I hope they take advantage of that. And then if we can maybe get the price down to $59, see what we can do there. But I think given that there is the NFC pad, that it supposedly has motion controls, again, I don't exactly know how that would work. I'm trying to think, like, oh, I could play, a Wii Sports type game with this. I don't know. It's supposedly a feature, so HD Rumble I'll have to experience, but hey, it's kind of priced close to where it should be, but not quite as low as I think it should be to move more units and get more of a positive, spin, if you will, coming from consumers, which in turn will sell more controllers than if you keep it locked up at a higher price. That said, let me know if you don't plan to pick this up. Would you pick one up if it was special edition? Say we had like a traditional Link color scheme here, we had a Legend of Zelda, where we get Mario and Toad and Peach and Luigi and all that stuff on down the line. Is that when you'll pick one up? Will you pick all of them up? Whatever you want to talk about, feel free, but I do have to say, it feels great. I don't think I would have been happy with that. I think I would have been in pain with that after a short time. This is just a much, much better option in my opinion. Now for 1-2 Switch, I don't think you need this. For Breath of the Wild, if maybe later on down the line we get Smash Bros, Mario Kart 8, I think this would lend itself better. We will see. But I will quit rambling. My apologies. I'm super tired. I'm kind of overwhelmed with stuff to do. But that said, thanks for watching. Wiisdom.com, SkylanderClub.com is the forum, MindLogics.net for all things Minecraft. Make sure again you follow me on Twitter, Twitch, and Beam, and I will catch you back here for more unboxings from the pool table.